Hello, princesses, and welcome back to Not Fit for Print Beauty with me, Rebecca. Today, you can see by the big smile on my face, we are doing, gosh, I think this is the 7th edition in the series that I call Revisiting, and I'm smiling because I have so much fun doing this. My Revisiting series has the only sole purpose of resurrecting, bringing back those makeup items, palettes, blushes, lipsticks, whatever you have it, that we might have put to the side. You see, this is an industry that values new, and calls things old a little too quickly. So sometimes we buy something, we're so excited about it, it's all the rage, it's then replaced the next week and over the next few months with even more new, exciting, glimmering products. We forget about some of the ones that we've purchased and they get buried in the back of the drawer, even, dare I say it, a bit dusty. So I want to bring them back out into the light and encourage you to shop your own stash and put together your own looks with some of these kind of forgotten palettes. So like I said, I'm going to, this is episode number 7, I'm going to link all the previous 6 below. We've done things like the Charlotte Tilbury Icon palette or the Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize. We've done Pat McGrath's very first Mothership palette and the Benefit Benetint Cheek color, a lot of different ones. Today, I'm very excited because today we're looking at what could be kind of a controversial choice, and I'll tell you why in a moment. We are looking at the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. You guys remember this one. This came out a few seasons ago, so at this point, in industry terms, it's a bit of a veteran. I have always loved it, but I'll tell you why it's a little bit not controversial, that's the wrong word, but a questionable choice. We're also going to recreate this look together, and of course I'm going to show you arm swatches of every one of the shades in this palette. So this is, for Natasha Denona, a fairly expansive palette. I was going to say large, but it's not actually large in size. As you see, it fits in my palm, and I have a fairly small palm. It's got 28 shades. It comes in this beautiful leathery dark blue, almost emeraldy green blue case, and it's kind of a padded feel to it, almost like a leather portfolio feel. Let's look at it in the pan. Pardon mine being a tad bit messy. And this is it upside down so that you're avoiding the mirror. We have shades in matte, we have shades in shimmer. The pans themselves are a little bit on the smaller side, but it is kind of a full price Natasha Denona palette. It is $129 and seems like it would just be this massive palette, but as you saw when you hold it in your hand, it is not really all that big. And the little pans are actually, see my finger there, they're fairly teeny little pans, but you certainly get a lot of shade choices. Before we go to the arm swatches and recreate this look and talk a little bit more about this palette, let me just address the elephant in the room. Some of you, when I put this up, I'm sure went, oh, that's why I never bought that. I can't. Yeah, I can't. No, I can't. And I get it. I totally get it. This is fairly intimidating. And when this came out, if you remember, quite a few seasons ago, might have been 2 or 3 years ago at this point. I don't know. I'll have to look and I'll put it down below. Maybe not as far back as I seem to think it was. We saw a lot of very editorial looks made with this. Very kind of makeup artisty, beautiful cover of Vogue, cover of Allure type looks with this. And it definitely lends itself to that. After all, Natasha Denona is a makeup artist. But for those of us who do makeup at home and who just enjoy playing with makeup, this can be a little bit off-putting. So I want to talk to you about how to use it. It is a dramatic palette, but the color choices and the fact that there's mattes and shimmers makes this, well, plus look at almost every color in the rainbow, really. You want greens, they're in there. You want blues, they're in there. You want creams, they're in there. You want browns, they're in there. And I could go on. It actually is a very versatile palette. The way Natasha Denona does things, and let me just show you real quickly, not to speak down to those of you who already know, of course, so thank you for indulging me. She tends to work in groups. So you can think of this line here as one whole palette, or think of this quadrant here as one whole palette. There are no rules. You can skip around as much as you choose. But if you find yourself to be a tad bit intimidating by a palette that is as diverse and huge, with this many choices, I suggest starting out by sticking to a row or a quadrant. And if you really look at this, guys, look at this. If you stuck to 1-4 pan as a quadrant in and of itself, look at that, those shades go together, and that is on purpose. That is Natasha Denona does that on purpose. So any quadrant that you take in this palette, you can use as its own palette, or any row. They all kind of work together, or like I said, you can skip around. It is a fairly dramatic palette. The look that I've done today is for some people maybe not everyday enough, but I didn't want you to think that this is a crazy palette. It's kind of like Natasha Denona's Circo Loco. When I first got that, I had seen all the marketing ploys that were very outrageous, and I kind of didn't feel it was made for me. But I go back and use that Circo Loco a lot. Remember, these are just eyeshadow shades. Now, in terms of performance, sometimes Natasha Denona is hit and miss. This is all hits. I love this really kind of creamy formula that she uses here. The mattes are super easy to work with and they blend beautifully. And the shimmers, there's so many choices and they're so pretty. So this to me is worth the money, especially if you could score it on sale, and there's always a lot of sales popping up. And I do not believe it's one to be intimidated by. I think you could make so many looks with this, you would never run out. Another complaint about this is that a few of the shades are slightly similar. I can't argue with that. For instance, we have this and this, which are two of the dark blues, and as you see, I'll zoom in, those are two separate shades. That's just an example. They are very, very similar. So think of it this way, you'll never run out of those. You can use them as liner, and it brings down the total amount in the palette, maybe, in terms of shades. I don't know, I'm looking for a silver lining there. But what I want to do now is, I want to encourage you to bring this out, or think if you have already bought it, or think about buying it if you haven't. And I also want to do some arm swatches and try on this look. So we're going to go to the arm swatches and then go to my mirror and see what we can do to get this look that you see here right now. Okay, let's do something deceptively simple with this palette, and that might frustrate some people. Some people might say this is not a simple palette, but I want to prove that this can be an everyday palette. And I know you're going, well, sure, I'll use this color and this color there every day. Well, yeah, I mean, it can be everything. So I want to do something, well, I don't want to go too simple because I want to use, a little bit of the range of the palette, but I do want to show you that this is extremely usable. Remember, we're going to work in quadrants or rows, and I want to kind of go over here. So I'm going to start with this shade right here, which is the first shade in the second row, and just kind of put it all over my eyes. It's a matte shade, and I just want to basically just kind of almost set the primer that I used on my eyes today. That's all I want to do, is just do that. I'm not even really knocking anything off the brush because it's just kind of creamy and just a little bit warmer than my actual natural skin tone. That's all I did with it, and I'm going to stay in this area here. So I'm going to go in next with this shade here, same brush, which is, by the way, a rougher number 15 if you are curious. And I'm going to just put this in the crease, which is a little bit darker here, and that's it. So far we don't have anything too special, but we do have something pretty. I mean, theoretically, I could put some eyeliner on and go for the day. Nothing wrong with that. But I get it. You bought this palette. Why would you just do this? I understand. So let's stay in this row here. Let's go around actually to the next row, just right next to it, and get into this little bit of a shimmer shade. And let's go ahead and use the same brush because I'm going over the shades, you guys, so it doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to go over the shades a little bit and just kind of put this right onto the eye. Should have tapped that off a little bit more, but that's okay. And I'm just going right into and kind of right over. I didn't plan that, but let's just kind of go over the entire eye with it in my own inimitable quick way. And look, it's kind of pretty. It's dark. That's okay. And then I'm going to go under the eye with this shade. Now I can get, and I'm doing this under the eye in a kind of a sloppy, quick manner because I kind of want it to be smoky. Again, what I'm trying to do is a very everyday, but dramatic. I want to use this palette, so I don't want it to look everyday like some other palette. And there's a lot of shades we could go into here. I want to go into one of these shades. Again, I'm kind of staying in this quadrant and this row, just around the same. I could definitely go into, if I wanted to, some of the blues or purples, but I don't really want to skip around the palette too much because I want to keep it kind of doable and easy. If you break this into many palettes, you're going to have a little bit more luck with it. Okay, so let me just blend this in here. I'm not getting any fallout or anything like that. I just don't want it to be that dramatic and that kind of crazy Cleopatra. It's not bad though, guys. It's not bad. I'm going to go back in. Again, I'm still using the same brush. And I'm going to go into this shade here and just kind of mellow out where that is meeting the other shades because it's kind of making some kind of harsh lines there. So I'm going to go back in with the shade I first used and just kind of go around in a circle there and kind of bring that out. And I'm even going to go under my eye with that shade to just kind of draw it all together. I am going to put on some mascara. I just want to show you what this looks like when it's finished. I'm going to put on some mascara and some liner, and then we're going to talk about this. And I'll get my mirror out of here. Okay, so here's the finished look, and I want to tell you guys what I did here, okay? Let me zoom you in. What I have done, I didn't change anything on the powder that we did together, on the eyeshadow, I should say. But when I went in, desperately needed liner and mascara. And when I went in with liner, I could have done black, which actually would have been quite striking. But what I decided to do was to use a Pat McGrath, different brand, I know, but dark navy blue liner. The reason I did that is I really wanted to evoke the feeling of this palette, which has those deep dark blues in them as well. And I just wanted to go with that. And this is a very easy eye, but it is kind of a striking eye. I'm not really absolutely positive that for most people this would just be kind of an everyday eye if you worked at the bank or whatever it is that you do for a living. Might not be, might be. Because this palette is a bit dramatic, but it was so easy when you limit yourself to one little area. It's so easy to make a cohesive look, albeit a dramatic cohesive look, for me anyway, because I tend to go fairly simple with my eye looks. Tell me your thoughts. Did you buy it? Did you always kind of want to buy it, but you hesitated? Or did you buy it and you haven't used it too much? Or is this just not your thing? Talk to me about it in your comments below and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, which I hope that you did. If you haven't already done so, I would very much appreciate your support in the form of subscribing to my channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.